Hi, Kodi. Thank you so much for the time you took to speak with us. First question that we have in media marketing is, why are .coms dying?
Wow, yeah, that's a great question. I would say that you probably have to ask, young people that question more than me. Why are they preferring social platforms, things like Snapchat, things like Trivia HQ, over going to a www.something.com? From a user experience standpoint, I think it's simply because a lot of .coms are just flat experiences. They're not sort of three-dimensional in the sense of it's me interacting with a game or interacting with a community of friends, or like Trivia HQ interacting with a piece of like a trivia concurrently with a million other people, competing to answer questions in a limited amount of time. So they're just not as rich from an experience standpoint. And ultimately, there are a ton of other alternatives now than going to just a flat .com. And I think you're just going to see that get phased out. If you just look at the usage data of when people log on to the internet, what are they usually doing? They're typically in a social platform or in some sort of app, or they're in a messenger. And that's just what it is. And I think that .coms and .com strategies are going to become less and less important over the next 5 to 10 years.
And TV, is TV dying? Where's TV going?
TV, yes, TV dying. So that comes up a lot. TV isn't dying. Content is not dying. Storytelling is never going to die. It's part of the human experience. It's who we are. We tell stories. And, great content, whether it's Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad or the World Cup, people are going to want to watch that. What's changing is the machines and the devices and the mechanisms that are bringing us that content. And that's going to potentially continue to change, and I expect it to continue to change. So, I definitely decouple TV from the content and TV the technology that delivers the content. Is cable TV or network TV, linear live TV, is that going to change? Yeah, it is going to change, and it's evolving. Is it going to completely go away? I don't think so. But there's probably some kid in high school right now that's going to come up with a whole new platform idea that's going to give us a more interesting, efficient, and enjoyable way to enjoy stories. And if that happens, then, I'm all for it.
So the communication industry is not dying either. Where is it going?
I think it's going with the content. It's just evolving. I think we have to. I think personally, there's a difference between change and death. The music industry, people were talking about the same thing. They were like, the music industry is dying. No, human beings are always going to create music. There's always going to be, the joy and love and that unbelievable emotional experience and connectivity to music. That's never changing. What happened was that traditional music industry that controlled the creation of music and the distribution and the production of it, that changed. We're not buying CDs and records as much. We're downloading and streaming, but that's just a change in delivery. That's not a change in this idea of music being important. And that's the same, I think, for TV and for the communications industry. We're always going to want to know news. We're always going to want to know what's going on in the world and feel more connected and informed.
And we also wanted to ask you about this very, very interesting insight, the conclusion that you came to when it comes to clustering in data analysis and the things that you deal with on daily basis. Could you please share that very valuable insight with us?
I think the main valuable insight I will say is walk into anything when it comes around data collection, which is essentially a mechanism of research. You're researching. We're just able to research faster now because we have things like APIs that can pull in tons of high-dimensional data or big data, whereas 100 years ago, you had to do it manually and talk to patients or talk to people on the street and do surveys, which are still wildly important. But I would say that the big thing is walk into that process with as little bias as possible. Don't go in expecting something to happen. Don't go in trying to overfit for some preconceived notion of what you think the result should be. And that's just good research just a good research philosophy. And we call that unsupervised in lieu of being supervised. That means let the data be the evidence, and you're kind of the detective. You're the Sherlock Holmes, inspecting the evidence and letting the evidence tell you what's going on and what's happening. And if you can try to keep that as pure and unbiased as possible, then you can have more confidence in the accuracy of what the data is telling you. And, for me, that's what the clustering process is really all about. We're not doing anything but allowing the data to move itself into buckets, and then making sure that we are responsibly understanding what that means, and that we're not misrepresenting or or incorrectly synthesizing or articulating. Just because someone might be closer to another person within a cluster doesn't necessarily mean they're the same type of person. It doesn't mean that everything about them is the same and that you should treat them as such. It's just saying that there seems to be some relative similarity around this one or two or three things that I'm looking at, but that doesn't define who a person is.
Fantastic. Thank you so much
Awesome.
for your time.
Thank you.